get out. I need to find an easier hobby. Alright, welcome back everybody. Now, a little bit has happened in the last month. It's been a little while. We're here still working on the 1948 Browning vertical. As you can see over here, giant pile of tubes, which can only mean one thing: tubes are out. So, progress. It's now early to mid-July, so we've got basically less than a month before showtime. And we got to get this sucker finished. So you can see here, boiler's still in place, but she's a little bit hollow. Here we got some of the chunks out of it, and more chunks of tube, plenty going on. So in the time since my last installment, they've taken the torches and they have effectively gutted the entire inside of the boiler. So she's completely hollow right now. So, you can see in the firebox, you can see right up into the water space, completely hollow. So today, we're just going to be hammering away on getting the inside cleaned up and the mud leg, and getting her ready for the installation of the new tubes. So, okay, so here we are once again on top of the boiler. And now you can see down inside we are completely hollow inside the boiler. So pretty quick here, we're going to be measuring out the new tubes, cutting them, and getting them put in place. They'll be rolled on the bottom, welded on the top just like they were before. We got 298 to do, so a little bit of work ahead of us, but we're well more than halfway there. Okay, so one of the big jobs that we have to do before we can get her finished is get all the junk out of the mud leg. You see the process of taking the tubes out has left us with a whole bunch of rust and various other junk in the very bottom of the boiler, so we're going to have to get in there with compressed air and scrub that out, every last molecule that we can, because it's damaging to the inside of the boiler. It oxidizes and it decreases heat transfer. It can cause warping of the metal because the heat can't transfer its way into the water quick enough, and it holds the heat in the boiler plate. And not good for it, so we're going to try to get every single last piece of rust and oxidized metal and flaked iron that we can out of this thing. And that's going to take a little while, but it's worth it because it'll let this thing live a rich whole life. So that's just part of the game when you're working with boilers, so keep at her. Alright, time to clean this thing out, and nothing says blast from the past like a good old air-cooled Deutz diesel. So this is basically what we get to do. Clean every molecule of metal out of this thing. So, water in there. I guess we'll have to get that out. Alrighty, so as promised, we're going to take a quick little excursion into the belly of the beast. We're going to crawl inside the firebox and have a look upward through the crown sheet and up to the top tube plate, and you can see the entire inside of the boiler from inside, which would normally be a hellish 600 or 800 degree Fahrenheit inferno inside here. So hard to believe we do this for fun, eh? Okay. Well, here we are, everybody. Inside of the firebox of the 1948 Browning. It's a bit of a tight squeeze, but I'll try to get this camera to work the best that I can inside here. So, normally you're looking at this hole from the other side. And looking up, here's the inside of the boiler as viewed through the crown sheet, normally full of fire tubes, 298 in all. So normally you can view this through that hole, albeit from the other side. So that's quite something you don't see every day. So, since we're in here, I might as well introduce you to everything that goes on in here. This ring right here normally supports the fire grate. And down here is where the ash falls after it is consumed. And it's scraped out through this hole. The one immediately above it is the fire hole, as they call it in England, or the firebox store in America. Go through here, you can see the stays, each individual one riveted, and on the other side of this is about 4 inches of water, and then the outside of the boiler shell, so this is all underwater on the other side of this plate here, so it's absorbing heat and it prevents it from warping, and it's also very efficient. So that's how that works. And then when it gets up here, it just becomes part of the boiler. And that's where most of the water is contained. If you look closely, you can see normally where the water level rests, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way up the boiler. And you can see that little device right there is where the water is injected into the boiler. It just hits that little plate and kind of assimilates itself gently into the hot boiler water, because it's cold water and you want to reduce thermal shock the very best you can. So you try to get it to mix the best you can. I know England had drip trays that would dribble the water in from top loading injectors up in the steam space, so that was another way of doing it. But these things were pretty simple. They weren't superheated or anything, so they were pretty low temperature as far as boilers go, so there wasn't a huge problem with that. But and then up there, that really big one that you see there was the main steam tap In a horizontal boiler, it would be the steam dome. In this thing, it's just a big baffle that the steam goes into, and it's closed on the bottom except for a tiny little hole, and that prevents priming, and the steam can go up that box and into the top, highest point in the boiler, and that's what allows it to tap off dry steam and prevent it from getting water in there and breaking pistons and cylinders and such. So that's the inside of this thing. Well, I guess I'll try to shimmy my way out of here. And to think we do this for free. Well, here's the pile of old tubes that have come out of the browning. You got 298 in all. And you can see by the condition of them, this has been some time coming. You can see roughly where the water level was inside the boiler. Here's what would have been the steam space. Here's what would have been the surface, and you can see it's quite pitted. And then this would have been perpetually underwater when the boiler was in operation. So these were becoming a thorn in our side. They were beginning to leak near the bottom because in the past whoever had it did not use proper water treatment, and it began to rust out and pit quite badly near the bottom because there was a layer of mud that the water could not get to, and it was simply rotting and oxidizing and holding moisture against the side of the tubes for a very long time. And the metal just can't take that, so we had to replace them all. It's kind of unfortunate, but luckily we use good water treatment out here, and we have guys that know what they're doing, so the tubes that we're slamming in there right now should last the entire life of the boiler. So things have come a long way since 1948 when this thing was built. So we don't know exactly how old these tubes are. We don't think they're original because we suspect they were rolled on both ends, whereas this one was welded on the top and rolled on the bottom. Well, here we are in one of the tractor storage places, and our new tubes have arrived. So here we go. Eventually we're going to have to cut each and every one of them individually to size. We're going to install them into the boiler individually and weld them at the top, rolled at the bottom, with the copper ferrule, and then we'll be up and running. So that's where these big fellas are going to be ending up. So there she is, signed, sealed, and delivered. This is going to be good. So another one of the jobs we got to do is clean up all the handholds, and what they are is the little inspection ports that you see dotted all over the inside of the boiler that give us access to the inner workings of the machine. But during operation they need to be watertight and steam tight, so that always presented a bit of an interesting dilemma, how you do that. So here's one of the pieces right here, and essentially what it does is it goes inside one of the holes that are oval shaped, like so, on a tiny bit of a fight, like that, and then they would seal inside there with a giant rubber gasket, and then a claw would be threaded onto it with a nut. It would be pulled tight, and that would create a watertight, steam-tight seal. So that's how that's done. So, there we go. There's the gasket. That would go on there. Here's the claw, which would sit over the hole, like so, and hold the plug in place. So, that's how a handhold works. So, there's 8 of them in this boiler. Alright, so we've got them capped off at the moment, but here's where the 2 safety valves normally live, and they're out getting certified and checked over right now, and normally they vent to the atmosphere out there. So from right here you can see the giant iron butt strap that holds the rolled boiler shell together from the outside. And if you look inside the boiler, there, You can see it on the inside as well. So that's what holds the entire circular outside shell together.